Welcome to the Digital Citizenship-Legal webinar. This presentation was created by Corinna Peters, Diane Werner, and Katie Petty. Just a brief overview of the different sections that we're going to talk about. We're going to start with the legal and ethical use of digital information and technology, including digital citizenship, what it is and why it's important to our students. We're going to talk about intellectual property and how to protect it. And we're going to finish talking about citing sources, including plagiarism, resources for teachers to detect plagiarism, and how to properly document our sources in our work that we do. All right, to begin with legal and ethical use of digital information, first of all, we have to have a good understanding of what digital citizenship means. It can be defined as the norms of appropriate, responsible behavior regarding technology use. For me, the key here is appropriate and responsible, because nowadays we all have access to the internet, but we're not all taught what we should do and shouldn't do, and we're not taught that there are laws governing the information on the internet today. So this is something we need to convey to our students and teach and model for them what's appropriate and how to act responsible using digital information. I'd like to show you a video now. It was created by a student and it is on the Digitine website. If you go to digitine.ning.com, there are hundreds of student-made videos about digital citizenship. And this was, again, it's a student-made presentation about what digital citizenship is, how our students have access to that information, and how to protect it.
Digital citizenship is the way to behave on the internet, which can best be described by 9 elements: digital access, digital commerce, digital communication, digital literacy, digital etiquette, digital law, digital rights and responsibilities, digital health and wellness, and digital security. People do inappropriate things on the internet, and so that's why there are rules which you should follow in order to not get into serious trouble. My element is digital access. Digital access is the concept that you can get access to internet almost anywhere. Cafes, hotels, work, home, school, etc. And how you can get it on most handheld electronics. Phones, iPods, game consoles, etc. You can almost do anything on the internet, but that doesn't mean it's right. Many internet users abuse their privilege to have access to internet. The problem is that many people don't know that there are rules to what you do on the internet. For example, there are many downloading programs that are illegal, but still, many people use them without the knowledge of this, and then are at risk of being sent to jail or getting a major fine. Another example is the history of what you do on the internet. Most of the things you do on the internet are left behind and can be discovered later on. This is digital footprint. For example, in the future when you're applying for a job or school, they might search you on the internet and find out that you have provocative photos or bad web pages, and this could affect their opinion of you or even their decision, even though that it was a long time ago. Knowing about digital citizenship can really help you in the present and future. A solution to this is to make awareness and to inform people at a young age how to be a good digital citizen. People could make posters, digital posters, newspaper articles, etc. To raise awareness about digital citizenship, you don't only have to do it digitally. Plus, advertising it would make it more global, so that parents can know what digital citizenship is and make sure that their kids aren't doing anything bad, that they're going to have to end up paying for. Hopefully, this would teach younger digital citizens to only do appropriate things, which would be an advantage to them in the future. Then again, though, there's the problem with schools and workplaces blocking websites. Some websites may actually be useful for education, but they're blocked because they aren't directly related to what they're working on. There's a partial solution to this problem. You can go to the main operating place and ask them to unblock the website, but this just takes up a lot of time and hassle. To conclude, there are solutions to the problems we face in digital citizenship.
Okay, so that was a student presentation on Digiteen, and if you go to the website, it has photos, it's got opportunities to become members, and you can blog, and teens can blog with other teens about digital citizenship, and it's a really good resource to share with students, especially high school students. Okay, so that's just a brief overview of digital citizenship. So now we're going to talk more about the legal and ethical use of digital information. The ITSC has national educational standards called NETS for teachers, and the idea behind it is for teachers to promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility. Teachers are supposed to understand local and societal issues in an evolving digital culture and exhibit legal and ethical behavior in professional practices. So teachers need to put forth the effort to research what's going on in our students' worlds. Our students are digital natives. They get their news from the internet. They get their research from the internet, and we have to teach them how to responsibly use that information. The ISTE has several different categories for their national standards: creativity and innovation, communication and collaboration, research and information fluency, critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making, digital citizenship, which is our focus, and technology and operation concepts. More specifically, the NETs say teachers are supposed to advocate, model, and teach ethical use of digital information and technology, including respect for copyright, intellectual property, and the appropriate documentation of sources. And that is the focus of this webinar. We're going to be talking about copyright, intellectual property, and citing sources. The NETs also say that teachers are supposed to address the diverse needs of all learners by using learner-centered strategies and providing equal access to appropriate digital tools and resources. Teachers are supposed to promote and model digital etiquette and responsible social interactions related to the use of technology. And my one that I particularly like, our teachers are supposed to develop and model cultural understanding of global awareness by engaging with colleagues and students of other cultures using digital age communication and collaboration tools. A good example of this would be to use Skype or some other communication tool to have our students having conversations with students from other countries. For example, if you're studying the Italian Renaissance in a world history class and you are partnershiped with a school in Italy, our students can ask them questions about Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo and the other people from that time period and get it from the Italian students' perspective, find out what they're learning in Italy. What a neat tool that is. So why should we care about legal and ethical use of digital information? Well, number one, we don't want to break the law. There are laws governing what you can and can't do on the internet and how you use information. And there are fines and jail time if you break those laws. We want to respect others' intellectual property, and in exchange, we want others to respect us and our creations. And we want to set a good example for our students. Because as Gandhi once said, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. The basics are that you need to know what you can and can't use. Fair use says that as long as you are using the research for education, parody, research, or news, you can use it. You just can't use it for profit or personal gain. You can't make money from it. You can't gain fame or notoriety from it. But for teachers, you can use information from the internet to teach your lessons or to help your students get a better understanding of the topic. There are copyright laws, and everything today is currently copyrighted under an all rights reserved copyright. It doesn't have to be stated anymore. Copyright is now just implied. For those people who want other people to use their work but still want to have some control over how it's used, there is the some rights reserved copyright. And I'm going to take us to creativecommons.org/licenses. This is a website that allows you to create your own copyright license based on how you want your work to be shared. So if you go to this website, creativecommons.org, it talks about the details of copyrights. At the bottom here, it lists some different customized copyrights that you can use for their work. For example, this first one, this license lets others distribute, remix, tweak, and build upon your work, even commercially, as long as they credit you for your contribution. Down at the bottom, the other side of the spectrum is this license is the most restrictive of our 6 licenses.